All right, so we're going to be looking at a running locking suture. We've got a different suture here instead of that 2O that I had. Now I've got a 2O chromic. So again, 2O chromic gut. This is on a CT1 needle. Again, it's a half needle, the tapered point. We've got a 70 centimeter length to it. As opposed to Vicryls coming dry, chromic and gut usually come in alcohol to keep them moist, because when they dry out, they get quite brittle. All right, so running interlocking. Again, we're going to start up beyond or right at the apex of our defect, because we want to get all of that divided, separated tissue compressed within our suture line. So we're going to come up beyond, come out in the middle, reload here at the tissue, go down to full depth, pop out just beyond apex there. So when chromic is wet, it does pull through the tissue fairly easily. We're going to protect our needle there. Needle is down protected, and again, two-handed knot here. Oh no, what the heck, let's do it one-handed. So for me, one-handed, again, I have the needle attached over here to my left. So I start off with the free end here, and I wrap around two fingers, so I'm making my loop there, and then trapping the free end and pulling it through, and then I do that little kind of crossover, and then make the little loop around index finger, do that little kind of pull through, so I trap it, pull it through that side, and then down. And so again, over those middle two, index, middle two, index. Oh, that one slipped out. Like that. So laying down again. Some people do over all three fingers here. I tend to just over the two, make that loop, snag it, pull it through. So this free end is always under control. It's always kind of within your grasp, so to speak. And then with just the index finger here, loop over there, pull it through, kind of rotate. Once you get that trapped, rotate your hand this way to get that up, and then come up, pinch it. Now I've got it, and go down, and then that sets you up being ready for the next over those fingers again. All right. So running interlocking. We do this most commonly on the uterus because we need good hemostasis along the hysterotomy. Oftentimes, most of the time, we'll have our assistant who's holding the end here following us. So down through the tissue, come out in the middle. We're going to do this across in one bite. I can't quite see my needle tip, so I'm letting go of the needle and kind of backing up on it, and then continuing to drive it through until I see the tip, grab it with the forceps. If it'll just slide right out as I kind of curve my hand over, that's fine, and then I can reload here down at the tissue. But what my assistant's going to do, instead of just pulling it through like this, that's what we did with our running continuous there, we're going to take the needle and pass it through the loop. So what that does now as we tighten it is, you can see here that we're pulling through this loop, and we get some extra tension created along that area we're closing. So let's look at that again with our next one. So we go down through, and then up and through. Can use the needle driver to kind of finish curving that needle out of the tissue, re-grasp here, and again, we're going to want to, and our assistant would be helping us with this, here's our loop. And so we want the needle to come through the loop. So as we do that, you can see that we have suture here. So we're not only doing the loop through the tissue, but we're creating this little extra strand that comes down. So we're getting more compression of the tissue. And we'll just continue to do that. We can see there's a little bit of skin pulling away from the edge, so I can really specifically grab that skin edge and pull it over to make sure that I get it in my closure. And then one of the things we can do is I can just bring my needle driver through this loop right off the bat. And then as I reload the tissue, I'm pulling it right through the loop in the first place. So again, see that good compression there. So again, we just go down, see the tip of our needle come across in one, curve it out with the forceps, reload at the tissue. But instead of just doing that, I want to come through the loop itself to reload. So then as I tighten this down, like that. So again, you can see that we're really getting nice compression here. And compared to this running, where the tissue in between our loops of suture isn't really overly tightened, it's really just tightened where the loop is passing. But here we're getting compression not only side to side with our loop, but also some of this kind of longitudinal or compression that's parallel to the direction of our incision because of the interlocking aspect of it. And let's see, we'll again grab that skin edge and try to get skin, pull it over a little bit better, come out in the middle, come through our loop to reload. And then maybe one more here. So a lot of people have questions about how you kind of finish up so I'm just going through the loop, grabbing needle, pulling the needle out there. All right, so we're almost to the end of this incision. We've got just a little bit left here. So when we go to tie this, so I'm going to do one more bite that's right beyond the apex itself. And now, instead of reaching through the loop to grab the needle, because that would in effect just be locking it again, I'm just going to pull the needle through. We're going to protect it, pull the needle through. So now we have a loop on this right side and the single strand here. But we tie it just as we would, kind of as if this was a single strand over here. Two-handed knot. So wrap it over thumb, bring this over again, kind of as if it were a single strand, bring it through, and then tie it down. One thing that a lot of folks do is that they'll kind of work this loop back and forth a little bit to make sure that it's snug, that it's kind of evenly pulled through. So over the finger, keeping some tension there. And then I got a little bit of an air knot there over thumb and through, finger, through. You can do a couple extra here, thumb, finger, like that. And now we've got three pieces of suture, two here in the loop and then the single strand to cut through, like that. And again, you can see that we've got not only this kind of lateral compression because of our looping through the tissue, but because of our locking area here, which you can see this little piece that kind of goes from loop to loop to loop all the way down, we get that longitudinal compression.